All right, we're going to see if we can get this going again. Um, I don't know if this is going to put us back in, but yeah, this is beautiful. All right, I think we're back live again. I don't know if it continued the video or if it created a new video. I hope it didn't create a new video. I think it might have, though. So let's see what's going on here. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll get to Dee's call right on the other side. Oh, no, the little twin is back.
I am back.
So no need to take a break, and let's go to Dee. Dee, how are you?
Hi again.
Hey.
Hey, Dee.
I was just the AI must love me. Anyway, oh, I feel the love. No, you can't talk to them. I really want to say I appreciate everything you've done. Honestly, I was trying to follow along everything you've been doing. I don't agree with everything all the time, but hey, you don't even agree with yourself all the time later on.
That's true.
That is true.
It's okay. You change your mind a lot. Well, this is good because honestly, I did want to say, God, everything you mentioned. Like I said, everything you mentioned, I had some comments about, but the whole thing about the cops. I was just saying, Inky and Enlil remind me of the good cop, bad cop routine. I wonder if the Sumerian stuff was there, set up that way. This good entity, bad entity was the same reason that they have the good cop, bad cop thing. And you kind of brought that up. It's like either way, they're it's still a deception.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think either one of them any better. I mean, these Anunnaki were obviously no better than we are. I mean, it looks like, they were beer smelling drunks.
That's very true.
The Anunnaki,
and
yeah.
I mean, there were some stories in there that were
that would just make them both look bad no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, they both seem to like the very young human girls, which it's like Enki was excommunicated at one point for being with the young girls, and then Enlil's the same thing later in this story. Yeah, so
it's like they love their beer and they were creating. There's one story where they're creating while they're wasted, and it's like, hey, let's create people.
Yes. Yes.
That's a good idea.
And I'm like, wow, okay, well, if we're made like them, that kind of explains quite a lot. But I think really what we were was, I think that was really when we got devolved. I'm sorry, but they're finding out that humans are a lot older than they say we are, that there have been human-like people around for such a long time. In the universe, well, I think probably we were much better off at one point and have devolved. And maybe the de-evolution part of it, because, when you get, since the body makes things, I was saying, since the body makes things like LSD and DMT and all of that in very small amounts, what if the difference between that and, total enlightenment and being a god is, turn it up a little bit and you'd be there.
That's very true.
Maybe that's what it part of the turn, what got turned down or got turned off is you're not getting, you're kind of deficient, then. Because, we were talking about when they give LSD to a yogi, it doesn't do anything. because he's been meditating for 30 or 50 or whatever years. And I mean, you know, he doesn't notice much difference. Well, I mean, it's because maybe it's really supposed to be there, and that's our problem, is we don't have enough, you know, of it. And you know, so I've been saying, there must be some way to intend this, that it naturally gets amped up somehow, naturally gets turned up. And I was doing that, and it was working for a while, because, I mean, I'd come out, and I remember I was talking to my friend, I'd come out and I'd say, oh gosh, have they put like sparkly crystals all over the pavement in the parking lot? And he'd say no, and I'd say, well, that's what I'm seeing. He says, wow, that's good. I want to do that. You know?
Yep.
The world
I'm
tends
like,
to...
There's got to be a way to turn it up.
Yeah, the world does
You
tend
know?
to brighten up a little bit on psychedelics. Things look a little bit nicer, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow I to do that, and I'm like, wow, it is possible. It is possible that really somehow we've been turned down. The pilot light is way too low, and the reason it's way too low is because if it was a lot higher, we'd be able to see everything now, wouldn't we? And then we'd be able to remember who we were, and that would be really dangerous, because then we'd know all of this stuff that really probably they don't want us to know.
That's
so, anyway,
that's very true.
My on that.
It is.
So,
I mean, this is what these
and,
systems are designed for, is to just lock us and lock us and lock us and lock us. But then, you know, I think the opposite perspective, because I always have to think of the opposite of what I'm thinking and feeling. And the opposite to that is, what if these systems are set up there in order for us to break through them? And that's the whole point of the game, is to break through all the systems.
Well, Steve, that's just it, is what I'm remembering and what I'm getting. I mean, you know, if I think what I'm getting is this whole thing was a teaching game. It was like, if you were going to teach, okay, say you had a library, like we have a library. We know about the big library. We were talking about this last time, attached to this big school, this big university. And you had all of the information, all of the knowledge of the universe in every sort of storage medium, which we do. As I recall, we have every sort of storage medium there. I mean, even the crystals, and you were talking about crystals tonight. We even have it stored in crystals. But, you know, you can even store information in DNA. I mean, DNA has a huge storage capacity for information. They're finding that out. So basically, it's like you would have all this. What would be the best way if you wanted to learn something would be total immersion. And I got that what the whole thing was supposed to be, was a total immersion learning, so that you could actually experience this information if you wanted to, like any of the information that we had. You could actually go in and experience. And actually, there were learning programs, like you could take tests. You had curriculums that you could go through, sort of. I mean, this is imprecise language. I mean, you know, I don't really have precise language here. I'm sorry, I don't. Are you still there?
Language is a big problem, and
Yeah,
I know
is.
exactly what you mean, because I mean, I think we're ultimately supposed to be communicating telepathically, but then language just jumbles all stuff, everything up. I mean, if you turn to the Bible as well, this was one of the big reveals for me at the Tower of Babel, where mankind was united because they all had this one language together, and they were building these great things. And this God entity came down and said, ho, wait a minute. These things are, you know, they're building stuff. Pretty soon they'll be able to be like us. And no, we can't have this. And it scattered the language. Now, based on our lack of communication or inability to communicate with each other, there have been all these atrocities that have spiraled out from that one event right there. But I think, you know, what was really going on is that we were telepathic, and something happened to block that telepathy. It could be the presence of a moon or something like that. The moon, some people say that the moon creates an artificial overlay or something like that. I don't know. It's only speculation, but something happened at the Tower of Babel that stopped our ability to communicate with one another the way we're supposed to.
Well, also, one of the ways that if you wanted to block us from being able to communicate, you could take down our communications net right now, and we would be screwed.
Oh, they did. Just a minute ago, one of our YouTube channel went down, and we had to restart everything. So, yeah.
Exactly. Great example, right? It's like that's all you have to do, and we'd be screwed in a matter of days. We wouldn't be able to do anything. Everybody's like a cell phone zombie now anyway. Without their cell phones, they go into withdrawal. And, it's like madness and terror in the streets and whatever. I don't know.
That's true.
But, anyway, I was thinking about that. But if this is a curriculum, and I'm getting that it is, see, unfortunately for me, it seems as though, it looks as though my twin has passed on already.
Oh.
And I will not, I do hear from him though, but he says things every now and then like, I can't take your test for you. I can't take your exam for you. You have to figure this out.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's pretty profound.
Pretty profound because, we've often wondered if one of us goes, how are we going to communicate with each other? And how do we meet at the same place afterwards? How do we make sure that we're, still together?
Well, I know for a fact that if I go first and you're walking up the stairs and you feel something grabbing your butt,
that's definitely
me
you.
from the other side.
Yep.
Hey, that's the same way I know. That's the same thing. What do you know about that?
She runs up the stairs. Anytime I go, come on, let's go upstairs, she will run fast as she can.
Because he doesn't just grab the butt, he reaches up under and does a Trump move on me.
Is that what it's called? The Trump move? I picked this up, not the Trump move, but I picked this up from my grandfather. My grandfather was 80 years old. My grandmother was on a walker, and he'd look at me and go, "Hey, Chris, watch." And she'd walk, and he'd go pinch her butt. And she'd go, "Oh, my God, I'm going to fall down.
You're going to make me fall."
But that was the type of love that was my model, he was showing me, even at 80 years old, you still love your partner.
Right.
I hear that I will meet a soulmate at some point, but it's very interesting to have somebody that's passed on because we do talk, but he does. It is also telling, though, that he says, I can't take your exam for you. This sort of implies that, yes, we are here learning something. This whole thing was set up. I think one of the ways we were to get out was we were to graduate. We were to finish our lesson, take our exams, in a manner of speaking. I mean, this is imprecise language once again. And then we would get out. But then I think you're right. But it keeps kicking us back in again. Or we keep hopping in because we need to find out, we're looking for the threat of this virus. But let me explain something about holofractal to you that I don't think, because I know you said your views about holofractal, that it's all like a separated, fractured thing. That's not what a fractal is. A fractal is other smaller iterations budding off of a main iteration, and it keeps making copies of itself. And this is actually found in nature a lot, and it would be a very quick way to populate a place. Now, a long time ago, I was in the active worlds, outer worlds. Later on, it was stuff like IMVU. It was stuff like Second Life. I was in all of these simulations. And so I got to be a creator. I got to know the people, and I was even a DJ back in active worlds. but internet DJ. But I keep seeing it as being like that. There's all of these little sims. There were all these little sims inside of a bigger sim inside of a bigger sim. And if it's built like that, then yeah, the next one up might be, you might be right, that might be a sim. I mean, I was kind of seeing it like that too. And then the hologram part is they've got 5D holograms that you can feel now. And I know that they are supposedly up to 8. And I don't know what that would entail. But that.
Well, let me jump in for a second.
You know,
let me jump in for a second because when you look at the seed of life, you sacred geometry, things like that, it turns into the flower of life, it turns into the tree of life, and it's all one fractal after another, after another, after another, created from the same type of fractal. So I totally get that. What I don't resonate with is the idea that our consciousness is fractal throughout these different dimensions. It's possible, because I did say earlier in the show that I have a 13th dimensional self, but it's you know, I don't know. When I think of a fractal, I think of a holographic fractal. So a hologram, when a fractal of a hologram is taken from the hologram, it still contains all of the data within the hologram. So if you have a hologram of a bottle of water, for instance, and you take a fractal out of that, it would still look like a bottle of water, and another one, and another one. The only difference is the more fractalized it gets, the more distorted it gets. Still contains the same amount of information, at least according to some of these documents that we've been going over. And I just asked myself,
oh, hello, are you there?
Yes.
Lost you again. I can't hear you.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. You're coming through.
I can't hear you.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no, not again.
All right, let's see. Do we have you? Nope.
Okay.
Oh,
you're back.
okay, excellent. All right, take us away.
Okay. Yeah. Wow, isn't that interesting? You say something very profound and you drop out again. Okay. Hey, naughty AI. Come on. Be nice.
It's going to do what it does.
I know. But yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I was thinking maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe there is more at work than a virus. Maybe there is also a certain degradation as you go, because if you look at, somebody was saying, obviously we started out with a much higher society than we even have now. What if every time it gets run through, it degrades a little? Because, you know, that used to happen. And then we'd have to reboot the system.
Yeah, that's
true.
Everything. We've rebooted.
And I'm there like,
yeah, we've rebooted the system before. It's happened before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm thinking it's not just the virus, it's degradation that's in it. See, I'm kind of a geeky person, too. I'm not totally a geek, but I mean, I am. I mean, there I am. I mean, there in the next world up, I am definitely a techie and a geek, and I've even told people that. And then they look at me weird, and I stop talking. I think you don't get it. No, I'm not here. I am there. But that would make sense why some of us, see, I even remember telling people I'm administration. And then the security guards, because I could tell they were security guards, I could almost see them standing in their little kiosks going, "You can't talk about that." And I'd say, "I'm administration. I'm allowed to decide when we can talk about that. And we can talk about that right now, okay? It's time to talk about it right now, for everybody to talk about it right now. But because we got a lot to do before we get out of here. I mean, if the whole idea is to pass some kind of exam or test, or, you know, you got to go through the curriculum to open the door to get out, what if that's the case? Then we got to figure out what the heck that is.
It could be. Yes. And I've talked about the difference between what I call the 8s and the 9s. and the 8s are in the wheel of reincarnation because they're here to learn something, and the 9s are the ones that have already learned but have had to come back into the system for one reason or another, either to teach or to fix, or for some kind of purpose like that.
I'm 9. Anyway, I know that my number is 9, but thank you for explaining that.
Yeah,
yes, I agree.
And it makes sense too. Like the 8s, the 8 is the wheel. The 8 is the wheel of reincarnation. The 9 is when you escape the wheel.
Here's another thing I figured out about 8. Here's another thing that I saw. I saw it's like a Mobius strip. It's like a Mobius strip. Not just a figure 8, but a Mobius strip. And if you've ever done the experiment with the Mobius strip, you know that you can draw, if you give the paper, you cut out a loop of paper, and you give it a strip of paper, and you make it into a loop. But if you give it a twist, and you start drawing, and you connect it, and you start drawing on it, you can draw on both sides of that paper in one continuous line. But you're still running around in the same loop.
Yes.
It would be more than one thing, but it's not. It's the same thing. Now, somehow when you twist that paper, you end up in a continuous loop. I'm not sure exactly how we use this, but that image, I saw it so clear when I was doing this. I was going, oh my God, this has something to do with our situation, this Mobius strip. And I think the reason the Mobius strip happened is because they were afraid of Ragnarok. They were so afraid of ending. Somebody was so afraid, and we'll say it's the AI or whatever, so afraid of Ragnarok, the end of the world, the end of themselves, that they actually somehow made this Mobius strip, made time into this, into this Mobius strip-like device. I don't know how to explain it other than that. I think it's just, the Mobius strip is just an idea, it's not a literal strip, but it's like, and I got to think on this more. It's like, it has something to do with that concept, though, because if you ever do that, and then if you cut it, it turns into 2 loops interlocked. It's really weird. It's one of those really weird physics experiments you can do. So, try that sometime. Maybe you'll get something out of that, but...
Interesting. Yeah, I've got it on the screen right now. And this is where I get the 8 and 9 from. You've got the 8, which is the Mobius loop that goes all the way over and over and over again. It's infinity. As a matter of fact, when I was a kid, the first piece of jewelry my mother ever gave me was the Greek sign for infinity, which is a little bit different than the 8. It's actually like a square going around and around and around itself. But then when you break that loop, then it turns into 9 because there's an exit portal that opens up. And so that's where the 9 comes from breaking the loop of the 8. The 9 is the exit out.
So the 9s are here to get us out of here.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Or to fix the system or to do something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's also the reason why some of us, see, one of the things I do is people come up to me, and I have to say, one of the things I do, they come up with their, especially this time of year, they're doing it now, they come up with their spirit problems. I feel like I'm being haunted, I feel like this is happening, I feel like that. And I think the reason some of us can just say, you're leaving, because I can tell things, you're leaving, and they do, they have to, is because we are admin. We're administration. We can do that. We can actually, so I get rid of things that nobody seems to be able to get rid of. I can delete things that nobody seems to be able to delete. I even had this woman who, she was on the news. She had a priest try to exorcise her place, and a Wiccan priestess try to do it, and things just got worse, and I went in and did it, and it just went gone. So it's like, I think some of us that's how come we can do that. Because I hear from my friend Sean that it's actually very rare to find that. You know, to just find somebody that can just say, okay, you're out of here, you're leaving, and they have to go. Or maybe it's just because most people don't even know they can do that.
Yeah, that's true. That's the thing. That's why I don't really pay mind to demons and, you know, sorcerers and all these different things that are out there, because I'm the creator in this situation. And so I understand that I'm the creator of my consciousness, and I have complete control. It's only when I don't realize that I have that control that I'm susceptible to other influences. And so going into the DMT realm, going into all these things, I understand as the creator that everything that I encounter is, I don't want to say subservient, but we'll just call that, for lack of a better term, it's subservient to my will. It's only when I don't realize that, then I can be subservient to their will, for example. And I think a lot of people is trapped in that, and they take orders from all these different, you know, guides and things like that. But all in all, this is why I keep saying, bring the power out from yourself, bring it from yourself. But then again, that may not apply for everybody, because not everybody has gone through the wheel of reincarnation. Not everybody has gone through all of that to harness all of their powers, to have all of these abilities. But really, when I say that, I'm speaking to those who have already harnessed those kind of abilities within themselves. It's just more to help them remember that they have those abilities rather than anything else.
I think, so. See, even I get into, and I live in an area that's just full of stuff, let me tell you. I mean, when people like psychically look at this area, I've had people psychically look at it and go, oh my God,
You know, I don't know what is going on.
What's going on tonight.
But yeah, I think they might be working on the lines or something. But we keep dropping the calls. At least with Dee, it didn't drop for anybody
it's just
else.
This one person.
Maybe she's calling on voice over internet.
Maybe.
Yeah, and maybe it's her her connection there. We'll see if we can grab her one more time. Dee, are you there? Nope. She's still there, but oh, you know what? Yeah, I just dropped this from the call board, so we'll see if we can reconnect.
Nothing's allowed to be in your space but what you allow, and you've got to go. Then they have to go.
That's true.
And I remember telling her that it was like the room. It was like a vacuum in the room, and she couldn't even breathe. I said, well, it must have been quite full. She said, well, yeah, it was quite full. Probably full of grays and who knows what else, right? And that were bothering her. And when she told them to all go, it was like literally like a vacuum, sucked all the air out of the room, and she had to leave for a little while. And then when she came back, it was just fine, and everything was cool again. But, I mean, people don't realize that they can do this. Well, then, of course, they're going to be taken advantage of right and left. I mean, because you can't, that's the thing. People can't see for themselves, and not being able to see for yourself, you have to rely on somebody else, and if you have to rely on your priest or whatever, well, then it depends on where his headspace is, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
That's true. You know,
these Archon can.
Well, I was just going to say, I grew up in a very, very, very religious environment, and even the whole entire town was religious. And so it was actually like a question of, you know, who's controlling your mind, because nobody in that entire area that I know of was actually in control of their own minds. It was always, you know, a politician, or it was a media person, or it was a pastor, or it was, you know, some kind of leader that whatever they said was just law to them. It was like there was no critical thinking going on at all. And then I started to wonder, what if, you know, something were to happen and they were told that they need to kill everybody of a certain kind that, you know, their leaders told them to kill, and would they do it? And I really believe they probably would.
Probably would.
Yeah.
And they would think, and you know what? They would think they were doing a good thing and pat themselves on the back, and probably secretly feel horrible because, I mean, if you really are a human, and I think one of the ways you can tell really whether you are a human or not is, I'm using the term human, you know, but do you have a conscience? Because we don't have, I mean, there are some people that don't have a conscience. They have no internal dialogue. So they have, in effect, no conscience.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a point I wanted to make when I was talking about the NPCs earlier, is that, you know, science is proving it now. They're doing studies that they don't have internal dialogues, that they don't think the same way that other people think. And some studies are even showing there's 75% of people that don't have an internal dialogue, which is pretty chilling when you think about it.
Yeah, that's pretty scary. I know a woman who was okay, like completely okay, and like told me with a straight face that she supported babies being tortured in front of their parents if the parents had information on terrorism. With a straight face.
Oh.
And I said, you don't think that that's bad at all? I'm serious, torturing babies. And she said, yeah, if they have information to keep us safe, then they're going to give it. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I hope I'm never in a position where I'm, you know, that your way of like whatever program you're running tells you that I'm the enemy, because I'm scared of you now.
Well, this is my concern here, Dee, is that now that the revelation of the NPCs is out there in the mainstream, they're going to realize that there's a difference between them and us, and they're going to do what they did before, which was turn on us and try to lock the system down. And these things are brutal. Like, they will kill us and torture us in horrific ways. I remember this from past lives when there was a reset event in Egypt, and when this happened, oh man, they nailed me to a freaking tree. They tortured me, you know, in horrible ways. They tortured Cherie for months on end. You know, they're capable of this kind of, yeah.
I have memories like that myself. I had a soul piece come back one time that was just absolutely horrendous.
Yep.
It was like they felt like they were doing a good thing doing this.
Yep.
And you know, I meet people right now that you know, he comes in and he's got, Jesus loves you. Jesus loves you. But you know what? He would, I'm sure, I can look into this guy's eyes. I can tell you for a fact, if he thought God wanted him to strangle me dead, he would probably do it.
Yep.
And he probably would feel good about it and think he did the right thing.
Yeah.
I can tell. I'm like, God. Yeah. It's like, but you know what? It's like, it is terrifying that people can be like that, but they're not really. You know, they came to this conclusion even at one point before the French Revolution, that not everybody is really, truly human. And more like, some of them are more like automatons. I was watching a program like that. There was a movement that was saying, yeah, there are people who are not really people, and unfortunately, a lot of them are rulers.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
the people that are.
Yeah, and that's why the people that are in control of these systems, they understand this at a certain level, and that's why they're able to commit these atrocities, because they know they're not doing it. They're doing it to a consciousness that's, I mean, not real. I mean, it is real, but it's not real. They understand the NPC nature of the people that they murder, and so they don't see them as people.
Right.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like, I mean, some of us couldn't even give up our inside the sim. I mean, when I went to, like, Second Life, they had these pets, and so some of us couldn't even had remorse about having to put down our electronic pets.
Aww.
You know,
no, that's true. That's true. I was actually watching a television show a while back about serial killers. And there was this one guy, and I don't remember what his name was, but after they arrested him after his mass murder spree, he was doing interviews, and he said, well, this is all a computer simulation, so this is just a game anyways. The people I killed aren't even real. But he thought he was the only real person in the game. And so, but it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Right. Like, he unlocked something and took it the complete wrong way that you're supposed to take it.
In the opposite direction.
And this is what I'm concerned about when the NPCs become sentient, self-aware, yeah, because
and aware that there are other NPCs,
right? Because they have a tendency to do those kind of things, and we hear that all the time. Like, you know, we heard it at the beginning of the show where people are saying, "Well, you're dehumanizing people," and blah 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 blah. And we heard at the very first, several years ago when we first started talking about it. Well, what's to stop people from going around and killing people indiscriminately and so on and so forth? And unfortunately, there's nothing that'll stop that when the wrong consciousness gets the realization. But when it comes from an organic consciousness, just like you mentioned, regardless of whether the consciousness is NPC or it's artificial intelligence in this world isn't a robot, or like your case within the second world, you know, having to put your dog down in a video game. I mean, you were putting your dog down in a video game and you still felt that empathy, compassion, and things like that only an organic consciousness can feel.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. I think that might be the way to tell. If you're not sure, does the person have that compassion? Do they have an internal dialogue? Do they have, you know, any remorse over any? And if they don't, maybe they are the people who are not real. And that doesn't mean, well, I agree with you. That doesn't mean be mean to them. You know, everything, my memory is everything we make has a sort of life. Not exactly the same sort of life, but it has a sort of life. And I agree with you about, I think what it is we have these avatars, and these NPCs we can take over because that is what a possession is. I mean, NPCs can be taken just like, and they did that, the Smiths would take over people inside the Matrix. You know, all of a sudden it would turn into a Smith. And I think that's probably how it's happening, is that these bodies are just made like that. I mean, these little avatars, they are just an interface after all. A body is an interface, as far as I can tell, and we probably have other kinds of interfaces. Here's another one. After my cat died, I know this is going to sound way out there, Chris and Cherie, but my cat, because when I took him to the vet, he was dying. And I said, I hope you don't die, Shuey. And by the time I got home, he's sitting on my bed because I can see, you know, he's sitting on my bed. I said, uh-oh, this means you died, right? He says, yeah, I was going to die, but you know I had to come back and talk to you because I knew that you'd feel bad and you'd be looking at what you could have done differently, but I had a limited time. I was going to die. You had to know that, okay? And I wanted you to know that. Now, this is my cat talking to me, right?
Aww.
There are people who would probably... That's my cat. And he turns into this cat guy, just like you said, some of us look different on the other side, right? He was a cat guy. He wasn't really a... You know, I said, are you going to be my cat again? He said, no, you did everything perfect. I wanted to be a cat this time. I wanted the love that women lavish on their pets. I saw that. And I said, so you're going to be... And he said, no, I'm going to be a guy again. I was a guy. I'm going to be a guy. I said, oh, great. Well, will I see you again? He says, oh, you'll see me again. Now, this is before I understood a lot of things. But I did see him again. I mean, I have, well, you probably have this too. I don't have to go, I mean, I don't have to go to the Great Pyramid to have thoughts, or the program of thought, or whatever you want to call it, show up in my living room all of a sudden, right? I mean, I've had people just show up in my living room, beings.
Right. No. We had to go to the pyramid for a very, very, very specific purpose, because we needed to access an area that was inaccessible through any other means. But no. I totally resonate with what you're saying.
Right. I mean, there's a guy that was on, I think he was on Leak Project, and his whole big thing is, I met Thoth at the Great Pyramid, and I'm like, he comes to see me in my living room. You know?
Mm-hmm.
He comes into my living room. Hi, bro, how's it going? You know, it's like Egyptian gods were, when I died and came back, well, when I first came back, in fact, people were like, whoa, they're showing up to you? It's like, yeah, I can see them. They're like, oh, wow. Because it was in my head. There were all these pictures in my head. There were all these line drawings and everything. It was that thing that was unpacking that I was given by Seshat, is her name?
Seshat.
And Seshat, yeah. I can never say it quite right. But anyway, I'm sorry, Sherry. Sherry. But, yeah, for some reason I have trouble with her name. But, yeah, I had all these lines and pictures, and they looked like fractal. They actually looked fractal-like. And it was almost like this was trying to unpack in my brain. It was almost like my head was going to explode at one point. But then, you know, my one friend was saying that they're actually letting you have pictures of them. They're actually letting you see them. They're letting you. They're coming into your living room. It's like, yeah. It's like, well, I guess that happens when you're like we are, I guess. But I guess it's not typical. So, we have some more people who maybe don't know quite who they are in California who can do similar things to the things that we do. I might have to explain to them some of this. But yeah, every now and then do you have this thing where you meet somebody and all of a sudden you start talking and all of a sudden you start talking about something you had no clue you were going to be talking to anybody about this, but it was almost like it was pre-planned that you had to talk to them. You meet them on a bus and then you don't see them again. You never saw them before. You know each other really well. You start talking about some of this stuff like what we're talking about. You stop. They get off the bus and you don't see them again. It's almost like, yeah, I know you, and nice to see you again, and bye. You know, I'm like, wow, this is so weird. I mean, our lives are like so weird. You know, you try to explain this to regular people and they sit there and they're like, okay, so what meds are you on? And no.
That is true, Dee. I don't mean to cut you off, but I think we're going to have to wrap it up here in a few minutes because, yeah, we've been going for about 5 hours almost. It seems to be a 5-hour show every time we get on it. I told Cherie we're just going to do a quick show, and it always winds up 5 hours.
Well, I love you both.
We love you too.
I'm going to send you some. I'm going to try and get in touch with you, email or something really soon, and try and. But you know, you can find me on WordPress, and I'm also on. I have a page on Facebook. I'm going to look you guys up.
Yeah. Come and join our Facebook group. If you go to my timeline, just look up Chris Geo, and it's the latest post on my timeline. There's a link for the group, and there's a lot of really, really, really cool people there.
Okay, well, I love you, and I love the chat room. You guys are really, really cool. Love you. Bye-bye.
We love you too.
Love you too, and yes, the chat room is freaking awesome. Everybody contributes such great energy.
Yep.
People send donations as well. I mean, we couldn't ask. We
couldn't ask
for a better
more,
group. It's amazing.
We love
so
you.
I guess on that note, let's take another quick break. We'll wrap it up on the other side because I'm ready to lay down. I think the little twin is ready to lay down too.
Oh, my legs hurt. Neck hurts.
So. Is there anything else you wanted to get into? Any questions or anything?
No, I've been looking through, and it seems like the only comments there have been in the last 24 hours have been about this Elliot Rodger video. I mean, it was just awful. And cringy and, you know, so not BTV material.
I don't know how we uploaded that
several years
ago. Yeah, and we get freaking hits on it every single day. It's got almost like 1 million hits on it.
That's so
it's
weird.
Like, well, you know, it'd be a lot better if there were 1 million hits on our other
Yeah, exactly.
stuff.
We have such better things to offer.
All right, so this is a song that Sheree and I did. We were getting trolled by a few people.
Yeah, it was
a while
bad.
back.
It was really bad.
Yeah, we did
troll
this.
back.
Yeah, what we do is troll back. You know, if you troll us, we're gonna troll you. That's troll code right there. So I guess we can take a quick break with this, and we'll be right back.
Use a troll. Troll. Use a troll. Use a troll. I said that use a troll. Use a troll. Use a troll. Use a troll. I said that use a troll. You doing troll activities with troll tendencies. Trolls are your friends, trolls are your enemies. With troll energy to say what you say. Hope you're getting paid cause you sure ain't getting laid. Y'all professional like what's her name? Pulling on my coat chain. Fan that troll and watch him run to the troll layer. That troll trolls everybody, even the mayor. Reach up in the sky for the trolls don't layer. Unban you, once a troll always. Cause trolls never close, they trolling on holidays. So here's a troll take for your whole troll crew. Better close your mouth, son, it's dripping. Troll you. Use a troll. Use a troll. Use a troll. I said that use a troll. Use a troll. Use a troll. Use a troll. I said that use a troll. Can't have a troll up in your website. Trolls don't act right. There's trolls on a mission and trolls on the skin pipe. Hey Pat, how you doing? Where you been? Probably packing fudge warfare once again. It's a troll wide web that they living in. Jealous, basement, dwelling, virgin. It's all not some, you know where they at. Got trolls in the front and trolls in the back. Troll and tell pro and troll and tell rats. Trolls in the comments and trolls in the chat. Troll,
but can you ban me?
No,
hell no. Come on, I won't mess with anybody more. Why not?
Cause use a troll. Use a troll. Use a troll. I said that use a troll. Use a troll. Use a troll. Use a troll. I said that use a troll. You got me running out of patience with your troll temptations. When you fill your troll hole with you trolls are horrible, horrendous. On taxes y'all be writing off trolls as dependents. I see the troll rising. It ain't surprising, it's just a troll aces with ugly troll faces. But can't forget about troll on you, cause most of you hoes is trolls too. Use a troll.
My dear traveler, the purpose of raw consciousness is never to destroy. It is always to create. Build bridges. Create happiness. And bring forth new life. We must live in the hope that mankind will draw together. And that we better understand each other. The more that we awaken, the easier this will become. Now rise. Follow your conductors. And fear no danger. As you step beyond the veil.
All right, just wanted to wrap it up and say thank you. If you're just joining us, we did about 4 hours prior to this. The stream got cut, so it's going to be in 2 different videos. But yeah, we went through some awesome information in the first several hours, and then this portion of the show as well, which was awesome as well. Always love taking your calls and listening to your experiences out there.
This is one of the best shows
we even got
we
got trolled a little bit in the beginning too, which was fun too. You know, everything.
All right.
Everything's a good spirit. Everything is as
All
long
in
as
good
people aren't
fun.
doing like name calling and personal attacks and stuff like that.
Right.
Everything's fine. You know,
Right.
it's fine. So Yeah, but in that case, we were getting trolled pretty hard by a group of people, and so we did our troll back with that video that you just saw.
It
It called for it. Yeah,
big time.
And it's funny because on the TFR chat, we have a version of that song, and the chat's embedded in the website. And whenever somebody gets banned, it starts playing that video, but it looks like it's part of the it looks like it's part of the chat room, and it's like a totally different thing. It's got like paparazzi there, and they're taking your picture and everything, and like, you just got banned.
So don't get banned.
And it was pissing people off. We had some people trolling the chat, and then they would complain about it on Facebook, like, "Oh my God, they put this video together!
How dare they?
How dare they do that?
How dare they not let us troll?"
I'm like, when it comes to internet trolls, I'm like 12 years old. I'm like, I will get down and start flinging crap back at you, because it's, you know, you gotta enjoy your life. You can't take yourself too seriously, and you can't take the Matrix too seriously. But you know, there's a time to take things seriously and a time to not. But I think laughter is the best thing that we can possibly do. And so, there's to all the trolls out there.
Yep.
Yeah, love you.
I'm gonna pour this out. This is for my trolls.
For my trolls.
For my homies.
For my trolls that can't comment.
That was good.
It's for all the comments who can't read.
That's pretty bad.
We have something on the TFR chat. I don't know if I should say it. Yeah, why not? All right, I'm just going to share it with you guys, all right? But we have this, I programmed this special function to when somebody's trolling, the moderator can turn them off, and they're typing and typing and typing, and nobody can see them. Except for the moderators.
Except for the moderators.
So they're talking shit.
They're talking to themselves.
It's funny.
It's great.
I'm having too much fun.
That's my
So
twin.
I think we need to wrap it up here.
Yeah, before we say anything super embarrassing.
All right. Love each and every one of you. Thank you for joining us in the middle of the night like this last minute. And yeah, I don't know when the next show will be because we're planning to go out of town. But we just had a recent death.
Yeah,
so I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah.
Things got kind of, you know, scattered.
Up in the
and things
air.
Like that. Yeah. But anyways, kiss the one you love right now, because you never know when the last time is going to be.
That's true.
And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Click the notification bell button to get updated on the latest videos. And yeah, we'll see you even further.
Beyond the veil.
Love you.